It's lesson number 6. In the last lesson we analyzed endgames rook versus pawn. Now we will take a look at rook versus two pawns. And the first example is where kings are not playing any part in this endgame. So white are going that way to a8, and here it's their move, and once pawns reach the 6th, or if it was black, the 3rd rank, like with two pawns, 2+ pawns, they are winning. So rook goes to b1, a7 pawn moves, and no matter what black do, pawn promotes on the very next move. Now let's take a look at endgames where kings actually take part in the whole action. Let's go. This is an endgame where both kings play part. So white are trying to promote pawns this way, and our king on a8 tries to stop them. White go king e5, rook a1, and we are trying to check from behind, like you know how we do it in the rook endgames, but now white have no rook, but they have to pass pawns. King goes to d5, and now rook e1, and unfortunately it's a complete zugzwang for white pieces. They go g7, king e7, and now no matter what white do, black will take all the pawns. Let's say king c6, we take this pawn with the check, king goes to c7, trying to promote, rook d6 is now stopping the pawn, d8, rook d8, it's away. This example is very interesting as well. It's white to play. They're trying to stop these pawns from being promoted. Our rook is on h1, and here again zugzwang. King c3, king goes to e3. Now again, if this pawn is being moved, d2, we take on e2, go rook d1, take the pawn on d2. Black king goes to c2, and it's very hard to achieve any progress. Rook goes back to h1. We could go rook e1 as well, because after d2 we would play rook e2, and this pawn is pinned. We go rook h1 just to show you what happens. King c3, and now rook c1. Now king has to move from c file, and it can go to d file because those two squares are blocked. King goes to b2, and after king d2, once again the pawns will be taken. Let me show you as an example. So unfortunately they can't even attack the rook, so they have to go back, and after king d3, king b2, trying to attack the rook. Of course, we don't go anywhere in this file, we go rook e1, and the pawn will be taken on the very next move, and white win the game. Now let's go and take a look at the endgame where only defending king takes part against the pawns. Let's go. This is probably one of the most important examples. You must memorize it. I want you to actually try and find the best move here for black pieces. White are trying to promote their g8, g6 pawn, f5 pawn, but here black have a saving move, and it doesn't look this obvious. So first let's take a look at rook g3. It looks very obvious, like g7, and then you want to bring your king to the action. But nobody will play g7 here. White will move their king to g7 first. And as we discussed in the previous analysis, in the following position, two pawns reach the 6th rank, and now this is a winning position for white pieces, because after king f5, f7, they're just helpless and they can't stop the pawn. So in the starting position, the first move to make is rook f3. So now king is not able to move to g7, so pawn g7, and now we go back. And you might ask, what's the difference? King f7, king d4, f6, and we're about to promote, but now we're just on time to play king e5, and now we're gonna take this pawn. This doesn't need any further analysis, because after g8 we just take king f6, it is a draw. Now let's take a look at this example right here. Black are going this way, and we are trying to stop this pawn from being promoted. So they go g3, rook g7 could be the case as well, but white go king e7, just to demonstrate to you as an example. h4, king e6, king g4, king e5, g2, king e4, and the point is now if black promote, rook g7, check, and we win a queen back. King h3, rook g7, king h2, king f3, and after h3, king f2, g1, rook g1 is a stalemate. So that's the drawing technique you must learn. So king e7, we're performing like kind of side-by-side maneuver with the king and make a draw like this. So this example, and again, very dangerous pawns. White go rook g7, king f3, rook f7, king g2, and now king goes to f5. Black got 2 pawns, but white can still save it after h2, rook h7. There is nothing that black can do. If h1 immediately promotion, we just take the pawn and then take on g3. So black go king f2, and now we play king f4. The point is, now if black, let's say, go king f1, they lose. If they go king e2, they lose. So they either have to go king g2, trying to promote, but then we'll come back, or they have to play g2. But the point is, after rook h2, we'll take the pawn in the very next move. This doesn't work anymore, and it is a draw. And now let's take a look where black actually can win the game. So it's black to play, and they're winning this chess game. They go h3, this king is on e5, and there is nothing they can do. King e4, and now pawn goes to h2 as opposed to g2. Rook h8, g2, both pawns reach the second rank. Rook g8, king h5, king f5. So g1 or h1 loses due to rook h8 checkmate. King goes to h6, king h7, and now one of the pawns will promote, and black have a lot of winning chances. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions regarding this video, and I'll see you in the next one, in the next lesson next week. Bye bye.